I'm going to be real about it.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I think people need to hear it. So, well, let's get started. I'll pray for us and we'll jump in.
Yeah, man.
All right. God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for this opportunity we have just to talk about what you've been doing in Bryan's life and his trip to Kenya. God, just guide a conversation, help this be a blessing to people and inspire them to get closer to you and maybe go on a mission trip themselves and just learn more about you from this conversation and see your blessings and the challenges and how you're with us through it all. I pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right. So this is the first time podcast doing this. So if people watching, my name's Josh Ingen. I'm pastor at Ballard's Bridge, and we have Bryan Evans here today. And so Bryan just got back from mission trip to Kenya, and we're going to be talking about that and a little bit about you, a little bit about your life. So yeah, Bryan, introduce yourself. Who are you?
Well,
I know you.
Yeah. So I'm Bryan. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. So growing up, I grew up here in the small town of Edenton. I was just like every typical kid, outside daily in the woods, building forts, having dirt clock wars, just being a kid. Had a good family dynamic with my mom, stepfather, and my father. And then as I progressed into my teenage years, finishing through high school and stuff, I really had this compassion or this compelling feeling to enlist in the military. So I enlisted into the Marine Corps, did 4 years in the Marine Corps, and decided it was time to move in a different direction. Exited out from that and then did some private contract stuff for a couple of years. Really wasn't feeling fulfilled with that and felt called into the medical field and moved in that direction. And that's where I've been ever since. And so now I currently practice as a flight paramedic in the local area.
Now, were you doing medic stuff in the Marines, or were you doing something else?
No. So in the Marines, we don't have medics. So we have, yeah.
Okay.
So the Marine Corps Department of the Navy, right? That's kind of
like stuff.
Those are fighting
I'm
words.
sure you told me this.
Between the two.
Okay.
So the Marines, we call it the Ms. Department, and the Navy is just our transport, right? So it is, there's a love-hate relationship there.
Okay.
But no, so they have the medical position. So what they're called is naval corpsmen. And so when they finish corpsman school, they have the option to either go green side or stay blue. If they stay blue, they're usually based at a field hospital at a bigger base. But if they decide to go green, they're attached to a combat element in the Marines and train with the Marines in all our training evolutions from, CQB, to providing first aid for some of the local nationals in whatever country that we may be operating in at the time. And primarily their goal was to make sure we're taken care of.
All right, so you were the green team, the combat?
Yeah, so I was attached with 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines.
Okay.
So I was based out of Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
I was in from 2007 to 2011.
Okay. But I'm guessing you were somewhat trained in field medicine to bind a wound and stuff like that?
Yeah, so they give you basic first aid stuff. And so like tourniquet application and like wound packing and stuff like that. So like, it's kind of geared more towards traumatic injuries as you would expect to see in a combat environment.
Yeah.
And so what really piqued my interest is we were getting ready for our second deployment to Afghanistan. And our corpsman, kind of was just like, we were in a school circle just having a conversation. And he was like, hey, look, I know what to do when you guys get shot or blown up, but do you know what to do if it happens to me?
Right.
Like, that's a really good, that's a good point.
That's right.
And so he really cross-trained a lot of us. And so we got to go to additional classes like CLS, which is Combat Lifesaver Course. So they teach you a little bit more in-depth skills like doing surgical tracheotomies, doing pleural needle decompressions, more advanced wound management and hemorrhage control.
And so coming back to the medic side here in the States or, outside of the Marines and not doing like traumatic stuff, but there's traumatic stuff in the medical field as an EMS. Would you say you're EMS worker, or what do you call you flight paramedic?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess it's a different traumatic in a different way, right? You have
Trauma's trauma.
Yeah.
You see it like you still have your violent injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So, your gunshots, your stabbings and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then even to like more multi-system trauma to like bad motor vehicle collisions, pedestrians getting struck by vehicles while they're
Yeah.
crossing the bypass and
Pretty
stuff like
intense
that.
stuff. Really
Yeah.
intense.
And then you have the medical side of things. So, you have people of all walks of life that have different disease processes and, different lifestyle choices and
Right.
whatnot that contribute to those disease
Yeah.
processes. And so really you're doing it all.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably come back to talk more about your Marine training and how that affected your life, your trip to Kenya. But before we move on, do you have any Marine tattoos?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I know that's a big thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
In the
It's kind of,
military.
yeah.
All right. Is that one right there on?
No, this one is.
Okay.
So after I graduated from Paris Island, I did what every other Marine does and went and got the Eagle Globe and Anchor tattooed on the
Okay.
side of my arm.
All right. Cool deal, man. All right. So Kenya, how did you end up going to Kenya? What was the process? How did you hear about it? What were you thinking?
Wow. So for a while now, I'd been really wanting to get into kind of medical mission work and wanting to kind of practice in a different environment and get out of that day-to-day grind of the EMS that I'm working in now. And so honestly, I had talked to you because I didn't really know how to approach it or who to even contact, and started asking you for networking and stuff like that, who to contact. And, at that point in time, it was kind of like, I'll think I'll look around, but I don't really know anybody off the top of my head. And then, y'all were hosting a service one night out here. And I just so happened to come, and Tom Lawner was here, and you introduced me to Tom, and he was like, hey, he's like, we're going in May. Do you want to go? And so that really, that's kind of where I really had that confirmation of calling. Like I had the initial interest,
Right.
Which just really kind of showed up out of nowhere because I hadn't done any kind of mission trips like this prior.
Yeah.
And so just kind of, that thought had kind of like started to grow and to build. And then talking with you about it, and then come out to the service that night, meeting Tom, it really confirmed like, hey, like this, I felt more compelled and called to go because the opportunity really just unfolded right in my lap.
I do remember that now because I looked up and I even posted on some of my pastor Facebook group, like medical missions and stuff. And I knew Tom was going to Kenya, but he wasn't really doing a medical mission. So it was cool that it kind of worked out. He's like, well, we can still use you and figure out something for you to use your skills in.
Yeah.
Because it's always cool to go with somebody you already know, like someone within the church already, instead of like, you could have, teamed up with some outside group or another church, but it's cool to go with,
Yeah, it was really cool to go to a third world country with a familiar face.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And he's been there before, and so he kind of knew what to expect and all that stuff. So expectations going in before you got there, what were you thinking? Were you nervous, scared, excited, mixture?
It's kind of a mixture of everything. I knew I would be gone for a little bit of time. My daughter would be back home, so it's kind of been the longest time I had been away from her.
It was like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. So not a super long time but by any means. Yeah, but for her long.
Yeah.
Our deployments were 7 months, so I was kind of used to that.
Yeah.
That length of time, and this wasn't it. But I felt it was a good balance.
Yeah.
Just being that length of a trip.
Yeah. And was it you that you were like, you were expecting to like stay in a hut with like no air conditioning?
Yeah, man.
Like,
so
I Kenya and the tribes,
I had kind of looked and done my own research on the country of Kenya, and still had very little information about the areas we were actually going to be working in.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of already had mentally prepared what it was going to be like. They're still classified as a third world country, but slowly becoming a first world country.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, for example, in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, like, it's very westernized. Like, they have shopping malls and stuff like that.
That's
But
where
like,
you guys went.
that's where we landed
Okay.
initially, and then we drove to a town called Namanga,
Okay.
which is right on the border of Tanzania.
Okay.
And so in Namanga, it was very much third world country. So like you have your shanty shacks along the side of the road. You have people, with all their fresh crops and fruits and stuff that they've picked just laid out like on the dirt for sale. And so it really is kind of like an open street market. And just seeing, the lifestyle there, like there was a significant difference.
Yeah, very different than here.
Yeah.
Very different than here. What surprised you the most when you first got there?
The smell.
Okay. Yeah, something you don't think I wouldn't have thought about. Yeah.
Yeah, so the smell, especially in Namanga, so they don't have like sanitation resources like how we have like trash pickup, recycling, and stuff like that. So every Friday, they take all their trash, put it in the middle of the road, and light it on fire.
Oh my goodness!
And so like just livestock, just kind of walking free range. So you're like, man, there's donkeys just walking all around, goats walking all around. So a combination of like smelling like a petting zoo and then burning trash. So very much reminded me of Afghanistan.
Wow, that's crazy. What did they do for fun? Do you know? Did you have any time to see what they did for fun or hobbies or anything?
Yeah, man. So they love playing football.
Okay.
So their version of football, so what we call soccer here.
Right.
So absolutely love playing that. As far as like kids and stuff, like playing with each other and interacting, not much different than American kids. So like you see kids all playing like hide and go seek, playing tag and stuff like that. But then one of the kind of like more sobering things to see was, the first village we went into, these kids had old tires and they were just playing with the tires as if they were playing with a toy, and just the objective was who could push the tire to the finish line the fastest.
Yeah. I mean, I think my kids would like playing with the tire, honestly. You get the Christmas boxes and they like playing with the box sometimes more than the toy.
Yeah.
So we might need to get them a tire. And so third world country, you get there and there's, extreme poverty. And what was your mission? What were you going into? What was your goal to do? Your setup to do?
So initially, man, I wanted to do medical work, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to take like medications and stuff. I was going to be able to take like basic first aid supplies. And when we were talking with our point of contact about like what was actually needed, and they're like, we need serious education on hygiene, sanitation, and stuff more, and nutrition, and stuff like that. And so I had brought some things with me, but not enough. And, I know as we get kind of further along with this, I'll talk about some things that kind of happened while we were there.
Yeah.
But initially going in, what I was going to be doing, we had ordered 500 pairs of reading glasses in all different magnification levels, because one of the common things that they suffer from is farsightedness because of the sun glare. And so my whole task there was just going to be fitting people for these reading glasses and, like checking people's blood pressure and stuff like that, but not really, I didn't think I was actually going to be doing what I ended up doing.
Right.
And so,
yeah, tell us about that. So you went in there to give out glasses and to blood pressure and teach about hygiene and things.
Yeah.
What did you end up doing?
So what I ended up doing, man, so like, the first village we went into, had my translator, announce that, I was opening up a clinic and everything, would be doing medical evaluations and stuff like that.
And when you say open up a clinic, describe the clinic.
Oh, man.
Visualize it for us, because I saw pictures of your clinic.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I took a little table out of one of the schools that they weren't using and just kind of set all my little equipment out on it, and had a chair for whoever wanted to be seen. And I just kind of stood around, and
it was outside under a tree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The tree was your shade.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
And so the first day, man, it was just people coming up. These people that we were working with, the Maasai, they're indigenous people of Kenya. So like they're acknowledged by the government, but they're not really assisted by the government. So they have free range. So like all the land there is government owned and pretty much protected refuge for like wildlife and stuff like that. But the Maasai, they are allowed to, because they're very nomadic still, were able to roam with their cattle wherever the cattle wanted to graze, and wherever their cattle stopped, that's kind of where they would settle for a few days and then pick everything up and move again with the cattle. Now, some of the Maasai villages that we did go to have started kind of settling down and taking more of a Western approach. So like, Tom and his team has been over there for several years now. Over the course of those several years, we're able to put very essential things in place, like, boreholes for clean water. Now, not every village had a borehole. Sometimes in between two villages, there would be one borehole. And so 3 miles one way to the borehole. Like, these people don't have a means of transportation. Like, they have their 2 feet. And so they were using mules to carry water cans to this borehole to fill their daily water needs up and then to come back and provide for their family.
Wow. How many miles do you think they would travel, some of them?
Oh, dude, easily probably 6 to 8 miles daily.
Oh, my goodness. Just to get clean water.
Just to get clean water.
Yeah. Which was a big deal, because if they didn't have that, they would just resort to using unclean water, right?
Yeah.
You had people doing stuff like that. You had to teach them.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the teaching points was really like sanitation of water. So, it's kind of like, it's easy to be like, hey, you need to drink this amount of water a day to stay hydrated. And this is why it's important to stay hydrated. But it's like, okay, cool. How do I do that if I don't have water?
Right.
It's like, all right, well, that's a fair question. And so like, this one village we went into, Niabala, they didn't have a well point. And so these people were very much using water that were like from stagnant pools. In like their canal and stuff like that. And so it's really encouraging them, like, hey, you guys need to at least be boiling the water for 20 minutes to sanitize it.
Right.
And whatnot for it to be safe for drinking. So like very, kind of might be jumping around a little bit, but like beautiful scenery as far as landscape and terrain, like absolutely beautiful. Like you would think you're in paradise. Wow. Like very mountainous conditions, but just like vast savanna as far as the eye could see, and not like concrete jungles where like you look out there and you see skyscrapers on the horizon or something like that. It's just like nothing. It was absolutely gorgeous. Climate, the time I was there, it was 85 degrees. The highest a day, but like 0 humidity. So it's actually quite comfortable.
Okay.
But
back to the mission. You planned to do one thing, planned to do the glasses.
Yeah.
What happened to the glasses?
So the glasses got lost.
So lost in the mail.
All right. So at that point in time, like I still had like the presentation I had came up with, and well, at least my parts of it, like with the hygiene, sanitation, nutrition, and whatnot. And so it's kind of like, all right, well, this is really going to be my talking piece, and, just checking people's blood pressure and just, kind of be like, hey, you should probably go to a clinic to be evaluated. Now,
a real clinic.
Not
your table clinic.
Yeah, not my table clinic. The caveat to that is nearest hospital is 2 hours away. So how do you get there if you don't even have a means of transportation?
They don't have these people. They don't have cars or bikes or
no. So some of the families would have like these little 125cc motorcycles, kind of the same thing that families had in Afghanistan. And so it wasn't uncommon to see like 3 and 4 people ride deep on one motorcycle to get to point A from point B.
Wow. Yeah.
So
if they had a medical emergency, they were really
man, like it was
Okay.
Yeah. Unless they had either ties in with the community church. So most of the pastors had vehicles and would help people get to where they needed to go if a family was in need.
Yeah.
And so it really is like a community relying and sustaining itself And you're talking about hundreds of years of just nomadic cultural lifestyle, and to now trying to take a Western approach,
Yeah.
and to honestly bring themselves out of poverty.
Right.
Um,
So you didn't have the glasses.
yeah. So the first day of the clinic, man, everybody starts showing up, and everybody has these open wounds and cuts all over their feet and everything, dude. Because like how we have like briar patches here, like they have briar bushes there, but the briars on those bushes are like 3 and 4 inches long, and they are razor sharp.
And they don't have like thick pants or shoes.
So they're wearing things like this, like a shuka.
Okay.
And so that kind of covers them. And then a lot of the sandals they made, or they made out of recycled tires.
Oh my goodness.
So they like take thin pieces of leather and like stitch them in to the bottom of the tread of a tire. And like that's what they would wear for footwear to try to protect their feet. And I mean, you know,
it's not doing it.
Yeah, no.
So they're coming to you. You're the doctor now.
Yeah, and so like, dude, I had very little gauze and like, you know, antiseptic soap to like disinfect wounds and stuff like that. It's like, dude, I ran out of supplies within the first 5 minutes. Now, caveat to that is,
were you using your own personal first aid kit that you had for yourself in case something happened to you?
I took a first aid kit for myself and anybody like on the mission team if something bad were to happen and whatnot. But I ended up using all my supplies on other people within like the first 15 minutes of setting up.
Because you can't just like, you couldn't turn them away. Like,
no.
For you personally. Like,
yeah, no, like, you know, consciously, no, I couldn't do that.
You know, I had to do something.
And yeah, for the greater good.
Right.
And, you know, kind of like first God moment I saw happen is prior to all this, we knew we were going to be encountering about 310 children total out of all of the villages that we were going to visit through.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, oh, how cool would it be to like to give them something from the United States? You know, children are innocent, you know, like, and we like to look at their innocence and try to preserve it as long as we can. And so we made a bunch of coloring books with like just put blank pages for them to color in. And, you know, we had one coloring book that we got the youth group here at the church to kind of color and write little messages to them. So it's like, hey, like even from thousands of miles away, like, you know, there's other kids thinking of you and whatnot.
They're like Bible stories and like pictures of the Bible stories.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so when we show up to the airport, I've got 310 coloring books stuffed in a duffel bag. And dude, this thing is weighing like probably 120 pounds. So. And so like Tommy looked at me, he's like, dude, he's like, I don't know if they're going to let that fly as a checked bag. He's like, so we might have to disperse it amongst everybody and just break it up.
Yeah.
You know, God willing, like it went through no problem and everything. They asked us when we got to Kenya, like what was the value on it? So because like at a certain value, you have to pay taxes.
Right.
And so like I just told them a number and they're like, all right, see you later.
It's just coloring book. We print it out. So it's like,
I was like, it was all free. I was like, we bought the binders for like 10 cents a piece.
Right.
And so anyways, you know, 120-pound duffel bag, kind of hard to forget about. Like it's bulky, cumbersome to carry with all my other bags and whatnot. And so the first day going out, like we get there to the village, I set up my clinic. You know, they're talking with some of the elders and stuff inside the church. And Tom comes and gives me, he's like, hey man, he's like, the kids are about to be out of school. Do you have the coloring books? And dude, it hit me. I was like, how did you make such a boneheaded move?
You had one job.
Yeah, I had one job and like completely failed. And it was like just the immediate, like the thought clicked. It was like, hey, they're still in the room. Like you forgot to put them on the truck this morning.
Oh my.
And so Tom's son, Nick, he didn't really have a speaking part in the presentation. He was tasked with other things that were very essential to the mission itself. But they were able to send him as a runner with a driver back to where we were staying to grab the coloring books to bring back because there wasn't going to be enough time for me to go myself and get them by the time I had to speak in a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, while all this happening, mind you, I've got like 20 different people coming up to me, and they've got open wounds just all over their legs, burns because like they're cooking on campfire stoves, like open fire, cooking inside of their mignatas, their little houses. And so like their houses are constantly filled with smoke.
Which is one reason Tom's main mission was to give them the cook stoves.
Yeah.
Because of those fires and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the cook stoves are very efficient as far as like in firewood use. So it's like the old school rocket stoves where it kind of has a chute. Mm-hmm. It has a couple of vents on it, so it burns more efficiently. A little bit more friendly for the ecosystem.
Yeah, and your lungs.
Yeah, and your lungs. Yeah.
So you had all these people coming up to you with burns and gashes, and you're trying to figure out the coloring book situation.
Yep. And so like Nick is out, he's on his way back to where we're staying to grab the coloring books, and Nemo, our point of contact, she was acting as a translator. And I was like, hey, is there any way to get medical supplies? I was like, because dude, these wounds are highly infected. Like it's going to lead to just nastiness. I was like, these people are going to start getting really sick really fast. And so they don't have like a Walgreens and CVS like we have, like we take for granted in the United States. So what they have is called a chemist. And usually to get stuff from a chemist, you have to have a prescription from a doctor written. And so she was able to call and talk to one of the chemists, tell them my background. And once that kind of was revealed to them, they're like, we'll sell him anything he wants.
Wow.
And so I was like, hey, man, I need iodine. I need sterile gauze, roller gauze. I need silver derm for burns. I need latex gloves. I need malaria medication. And
how do you know what to get?
I just from seeing it and the experience of the years of dealing with things like that. So you kind of learn your trade, right?
Right.
You become proficient in it.
Nice.
So just repetitive practice. And what was really cool is like the chemist she called was literally like one block south of where Nick was.
Okay.
And so I was able to call Nick. I was like, hey man, this is the location I need you to stop at. They already have the supplies ready. All you got to do is walk up, give them the cash. They're going to give you the stuff. I was like, but I need it.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like that was kind of like really the first part of me. I was like, oh, strange coincidence. Like this worked out for the good. Great, it worked out. But then towards the end of the trip, after seeing some of the other stuff, it was like those coloring books got left for a reason.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really know what to expect going in and like rough idea, but didn't expect to see it that severe.
Right.
And so like the coloring books getting left behind, just coincidentally, the chemist is a block away from where Nick is. My translator's right there. She's able to talk to the translator, and just everything got pulled together. Nick comes back with coloring books and medical supplies.
All right.
So, he was able to hand those out to all the kids and stuff like that. And just to talk on that just for a second before even the medical stuff, man, it's like, we both have kids and stuff like that. And so when Christmas time rolls around and we start kids get like super excited over like extravagant gifts. Like, I remember first four-wheeler like I got from my daughter, like just how excited she was and just thrilled and just grinning from ear to ear, like Christmas morning was made. And like just seeing that same reaction from a child over a coloring book. It was very humbling. And it really showed me a lot about their values, that they were content with nothing. They could be completely content and happy pushing a tire down a path, laughing, carrying on, because they didn't know any different.
Yeah. It puts things in perspective for sure.
Living life to the fullest in the conditions that they have. Yeah. And then like, man, like, I don't mean to like point fingers, and then you think about like, you give a kid a coloring book for Christmas, like, all right, yeah, thanks.
Put that on the shelf. Yeah.
Who got me the PlayStation?
Right.
And unfortunately, that's just the culture our children have been brought up in, of having an abundance of everything.
Yeah. I think that is one of the big things about going on a mission trip is not only are you helping people, you can help them so easily because of what we've been blessed with. We can easily print out coloring books, but then it changes you because you get to see, oh, wow, what are we thankful for,
Yeah.
So that is good.
Yeah, man, like just very grateful. Obviously our cultures are vastly different in so many ways. Um, but I have never been to a country to where I was welcomed and just like brought into the community as if I had been there for years.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like very welcome, very very hospitable. Like even though they had nothing to give, if you needed something, they were willing to sacrifice the bare minimum of what they already have
Right.
for the good of you. And it was like, man, like that's, I don't know what you would call it. That's good humanity in practice.
That is generosity.
Yeah.
Right. And this is some of the things that they gave you, right?
Yeah, man.
Can you talk about some of these things on the table?
Yeah. So after the last day out of one of the clinics, they brought us in before, like we were, because we always handed out the cook stoves at the end of the day before we were leaving. And so like the first thing I was given was a Maasai tribal necklace, which I thought was really, really cool. Yeah. And so like they presented us all with different variations of that. And I started asking kind of questions about it, with my translator and stuff, like, hey, like, is there what's the meaning behind this, like in their culture and stuff. And so, the yellow beads represent fertility and growth. Represent they're very they're very connected to the earth, as if like everything they want or need, that's where it comes from. And that's what they rely on. And so like the sun is very vital for crops to grow, and nurturing, meaning of nurturing. The white represents peace and vitality. So like cow's milk is like a daily staple in their diets. And then the blue beads represent vitality, represent also like rain and personal growth. And then the black beads represent solidarity and unity, and hardships that a lot of that culture has embraced and lives through daily.
Yeah, wow. It is interesting that they include the hardship bead, like usually, in decorations, and you always want to be bright and like positive, but they're like, no, we're just gonna be honest. We have hardships.
Yeah, man.
It's part of life.
Like everything they gave us, like, some people might look at it and be like, oh, that's a gold necklace. But like to them, like it has a lot of symbolic and everything has deep meaning to them. Yeah. So it's not like they're just going to a market buying a necklace and saying thank you.
You're right.
They handmade that stuff purposely. And like everybody's necklace was different. And that's just the one that was presented to me. And, it was a lady that I had treated earlier in the day. And, when she presented it with me, they want to tie it around your neck and stuff like that. And like, you could just tell just off of interactions in human behavior, like just how eternally grateful they were of just like the simplest things, man, like that we take for granted.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the things that the people, like that lady that you helped her, or another person that we take for granted, but if you weren't there, they would have just let it go.
Yeah, man. So like walking around in the bush daily, just to collect firewood, like barefooted, and just having all these open wounds and not being able to like just conveniently get in your store or get in your car and drive to the grocery store to get whatever meals you want. Like these people are going out daily, picking their crops. It's like they are busy day in and day out. Like usually the men of the household are out either herding cattle and watching over the cattle, because lions are a problem over there, and other.
So they fight off the lions?
Yeah. So actually, one of the villages the day before we went into, like, guy was herding his cattle, and a lioness attacked one of the calves, and they ended up killing the lion to try to protect the calf, and one of the guys ended up getting kind of injured pretty severely.
Wow.
Um,
You had to bandage him up and stuff?
no,
Okay.
so that was before I got there.
Okay.
So they was already bandaged up, and
Yeah.
and they got him to the hospital in Nairobi pretty
Wow.
fast.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, it was intense. It was like, this is right outside their house.
Yeah, a lion could be there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what was so bizarre. Was just like, we're in these villages, and where these people are living day-to-day life, and I would be standing there, talking to a kid, asking him how his day was, what kind of medical problems he had, as best as you could. There's obviously a significant language barrier, but that's where the translator comes in. And then, like, out of nowhere, like, you just look off in the distance, and there's just an 18-foot giraffe just walking around. Just like,
All
it's
right.
like,
we're living in the safari.
yeah, we are not in Kansas anymore.
Wow. And so what was one of the worst things that you saw, like one of the worst things you had to treat?
So this kind of is really going to tie into, like, the second divine moment.
Okay.
I felt so after the first day, like, going back, right, we had the whole issue with the coloring books. It ended up working out, got medical supplies along with it, and was able to treat the people there. And then the next morning, because I had blew through half of the supplies that I had gotten, I knew where the chemist was. Nick was like, "Oh yeah, it's right around the corner." So after breakfast, before we were taking off, me and my handler, I was like, "Hey," I need to go back to the chemist, get some more stuff. And, showed up and just kind of looked around and whatnot. And really, everything is different over there. So I was looking at the backing of labels and stuff like that, seeing the ingredients, and then, like, kind of going on Google. I'm like, all right, what is this in America? Like, all right, this is Tylenol.
Oh, wow.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna need some of that and stuff. And they had some stuff that, was like, I already knew what it was. Right. So, like, and one of the things that caught my eye, no pun intended, was gentamicin eye drops, which is an antibiotic eye drop. Yeah. I used to treat, like, bacterial conjunctivitis and like stuff like that. What commonly know here is pink eye.
Okay.
And just divine intervention, man. Like, I just had this strong, I didn't hear a voice or anything. It was more like an internal dialogue, and just feeling like super compelled. It was like, you need to buy those eye drops, and you need to buy more than one box.
Not that so you had anybody with eye problems the day before.
And the first day,
there was no real, like...
Never saw the first eye problem.
Right.
First day was all just open cuts and wounds that were infected.
Something inside you.
Yeah.
We would retroactively, like, the Lord was guiding you.
Yeah, looking back, it was 100% divine intervention.
Right. So you get a couple boxes.
Yeah, dude, you get a couple boxes, and we go into this village called Niabala. And so Niabala, they just kind of started sitting in place. So no borehole. These people were getting their water from the local canal. And at this point of time while I was there, they were kind of in a drought. So not a lot of flowing water, but more stagnant pools. Heavy mosquito presence. Out of the 20 kids I saw there, 15 of them had malaria. Just textbook signs and symptoms of malaria, like jaundice eyes, complaints of headaches, fever, cold chills at nighttime. So just, hitting the major signs and symptoms of malaria, and then asking other, like, hey, like, do you guys have mosquito nets? They're like, no. Like,
what is that?
Yeah, exactly. What is that?
What are we rich?
Because, like, these manadas, like, dude, they are mud houses with like a little bit of paneling on the roofs. And when I mean paneling, I mean like pieces of tin, straw, whatever they can find to prevent rain from coming in when it does rain.
Yeah.
And then as far as, like, inside, just dirt floor, no beds. Like, you have an entire family just sleeping side by side on the floor in a small little hut that's also filled with smoke from cooking 3 meals a day. So very, very rough living conditions. And so I go in there, first kid that comes up to me, I'm talking with my translator and everything, and they bring this child up. He had to be probably like 3 or 4 years old. And his mom was holding him. And, translated, he's like, hey, like he's got an eye problem. I was like, all right, well, let's take a look. And dude, as soon as I opened up this kid's eyes, just pus and just nasty infection just started running out of this kid's eyes. And so, yeah, I mean, like, talk about strange coincidence. I call it divine interaction.
Right. That ain't a coincidence.
Have exactly what they need, the antibiotic, eye drops, and was able to treat the kid, morning, lunch, and dinner before we left, and then had a couple of boxes to give to the family and be like, hey, look, you saw how I treated it. Do this every couple of hours, couple of drops each eye. But look, no more than 4 days. If this doesn't start clearing up in 4 days, you need to get him to the hospital in Nairobi.
Yeah. And
just like, man, like the conditions there were just absolutely brutal comparatively. So like kids with just like 20 and 30 flies just all over their face. And it didn't matter like how fast our mothers were doing this and trying to keep the flies off. Like the flies are just glued. So like just nasty eye infections.
Which they can go blind with that.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's not treated.
Can definitely cause deterioration of the eye itself.
Yeah.
As far as sight, and then even cause blindness.
Wow.
And these people are just making do with what they have. So yeah, that was probably that was the worst.
Right.
But just seeing how many kids like just infected with malaria, the eye infections and stuff, and now like, dude, they don't have an EMS system there. Like,
you can't call somebody.
Yeah, there's no 911.
Right.
Like you're calling your neighbor to try to help you get to a clinic 2 hours away.
And they don't know basic treatment. First aid. They didn't. Right, like they didn't know to like clean a wound and stuff.
No, I mean very holistic approaches. As far as like everybody was just kind of like open wounds and just dealing with it.
Like literally rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, literally rub some dirt on it.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So how did you get to see any of like the spiritual side of things? I mean, all this is spiritual. Like the spiritual and physical are connected.
Yeah. You would kind of think like, because I've seen it here in the States, and even at one point in my life struggled with it. Is like, everybody goes through hardships and struggles in life. And sometimes it can push people away from religion because we look at God as like all loving, and he is, and we know that. But it's like, man, like, dude, at the same time is like, these kids are innocent.
How could you let this happen?
How could you let this happen?
Right.
And it took me a long time. It wasn't this trip to grasp that idea. It took me turning back to Christ to realize like this is a fallen world.
Bad things happen.
Yeah, and bad things happen.
But God still loves us, and he entered the world. Christ experienced the evil of the world.
Yeah.
And so were they open? How was the church situation there? You mentioned they have pastors and churches and different things.
Yeah. So like I was saying, for people to not have anything, you could in one mindset be like, yeah, I could see where these people wouldn't be spiritual. They'd be like, hey, like, look, we have no clean water. We don't have this. We don't have that. Yeah, like where is this loving God, right? But dude, that mindset of what I thought they might be like completely 180, really? Like within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like we got there on a Saturday. Got there on a Saturday, checked in to where we were stayed, and then Sunday we were going to one of the churches, just kind of meet the head pastor, tell me we're there. They, and of course they already knew we were coming and everything, but just to kind of like have some face-to-face time and worship with them on Sunday. And dude, you talk about some of the most spiritual people and just full of energy and just being so grateful, even though they are in the most austere conditions you can think of.
That's a good point, because I feel like we have so much food and sleep and rest and air conditioner, and yet we're always tired, and like we can barely move or get up to go to church, but then you have these people sleeping on dirt floor, mosquitoes biting them all night, had hardly any food the day before, but they're excited to worship, right?
Exactly. And like just giving all the glory to God, like everything they did was for that. Like just like the whole trip in itself, man, it was the most spiritually alive I have felt in a very long time, to the point where it felt like I could almost touch it, but it was just out of grasp.
It was so
and
real.
It was so
real. It's almost like a physical manifestation.
I legitimately was waiting to see like some divine spiritual entity. And like to have like this crazy experience. And it was a crazy experience, looking back at it, of just seeing God's hand in it all, like with the coloring books, with the eye drops.
With the eyeglasses even being
being delayed. Because like, dude, if those had gotten there on time, there would have been no time to do it all. Like, I mean, we were getting up, not super early, but like 6:30 in the morning downstairs, for breakfast, kind of did daily devotion, talked about what the objective was for that day, going out and whatnot. And then getting to the village. Some of these villages were maybe 25 miles away from where we were staying, but took about an hour and a half to get there, just because of the conditions of the road. Like, dude, these aren't like, there's a main paved road like going through Namanga into Tanzania, but all these little side roads are dirt roads that have been washed out from the rain seasons and stuff like that. So very just like harsh terrain to try to navigate. You're not just cruising 55 down the highway. Like, I'm going to be at my destination in a few minutes.
It's going to take a little bit.
No, like cruising along down dirt path, 5-10 mile an hour. Just, trying to get there. And people, are walking to and from along the side of the paths, either go get water, or doing their daily chores and whatnot. And, man, it was just very, very eye-opening. And like I was saying, man, for me, like, it was just like, this is very real. And I've never felt more spiritually close in my entire life.
What would you contribute? I know you said, you had the instances of like the God intervention of those things. Was it anything more than that? Like, what do you think? Looking back on it, what put you in that spot?
Man, just all of it.
All of it together.
All of it together, like just from the random thought of coming in, several months ago, like, hey, like doing mission work would be really cool. And then talking with you, and then coming to the service and meeting the guy that's getting ready to go. He's like, I need somebody to go. Do you want to go? And then just the opportunity kind of unfolding. And then like looking back at it, even from like a medical standpoint, like if you ask my parents, like, if you're like, did you ever think your son would be a flight paramedic? Like, absolutely not. No way he would do that.
Really?
And just so like the years of training and just all the experience I've gained over the years of being in this trade, really set me up for success, to be able to identify stuff and then effectively treat it and to make a difference. And I'm not going to compare myself and saying I am Jesus, obviously, by any means. Like, I'm not anywhere close.
Right.
But like the first day, like just dealing with the open cuts and wounds, and like, you know, some of the EMS stuff, like it's not all, even here in the United States, it's not all like super critical stuff all the time.
Right.
Sometimes you get called out for just random things like, oh, my back hurts.
Right. I got heartburn.
Yeah, I got heartburn. Or, hey, you know, Timmy was outside and cut his leg on this rusty piece of metal and now it's open. Can you guys help? You know? And like, you know, you get there and you bandage it up and you take care of it, and people are just like, all right, cool. Thanks for doing your job.
Yeah.
See you later.
Doesn't really feel like
yeah, and kind of like to tie into your question, like over the years of doing it, because I've been in this trade now for 10 years, and burnout happens, man.
Mm-hmm.
I was very burned out. The only time I started thinking I was making a difference was when I was having these high acuity calls, when we were going to the cardiac arrest, resuscitating them and finding out they had a positive outcome. So it seemed like all the little stuff, and just to go back to that, those are few, far and in between.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that happens every day.
Right.
Dude, for every cardiac arrest that I've been a part of that has had a positive outcome, I can probably tell you 10 that did not have a positive outcome. Right. And then just some people are too sick or too injured and succumb to their injuries. And that's one thing I had to learn early on, is like, man, you just got to let stuff go. You can't hold on to it. It wasn't that you made a mistake. Yeah, you did everything that was in your control. And sometimes it's out of your control.
That's right.
And that was kind of like another spiritual thing that really kind of started bringing me back, because I had walked away for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that understanding yet.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you realize your understanding is, you're not there to save that patient. That patient's too sick, too far gone. Sometimes your purpose there is just to be an empathetic human being and to grieve with somebody and say, hey, look, I know this is very unexpected and you don't know what to do now, but how can I help you through the next step of this process? Yeah. And so after honestly, man, just dealing with a lot of death, seeing a lot of death and sickness and stuff, like it burned me out to the point where the little stuff didn't matter, but like the bigger things, so like resuscitating, you know, patients that were in cardiac arrest, or stabilizing critical trauma patients and stuff like that, doing that right intervention, you know, getting the intubation on the first pass, and stuff like that. Those were the only items that were really starting to make me feel like I was making a purpose or a difference.
Right.
And then all the little stuff that at one point in time was just becoming annoying and persistent. And it's like, dude, why am I even doing this anymore? Like, these people aren't grateful for it. You know, it's kind of like, you're supposed to do this because this is your job. And I'm also going to cuss at you while you're doing your job.
You're not doing it right.
And so it's like, dude, what is the point of doing this? What is the point of me being away from my daughter and family for 24 hours at a time to go get cussed out by some drunk dude? They got a beer bottle smashed across his head. And I'm like, hey, man, you need to go to the hospital and get stitches.
I'm trying to help you.
And now you want to fight me? Like, bro, it's like, this is not even worth it.
Right.
And a couple things on this trip in Kenya, it restored a lot of that empathy. And so seeing like sick kids like that, and even adults with like open wounds and cuts that were obviously infected, and just doing some of the little things, and just seeing how eternally grateful they were for just whatever you would do for them. You could just tell it was pure and it was genuine. Restored a lot of empathy that I had lost. And you know, after the first day, I was talking to my translator after the fact, and I was like, you know, I just kind of wanted to come on this. You know, I told him, I was like, we're having some very sobering conversations, and I was like, I've been burned out for a long time, but I don't know what else to do. Like, I like the medical field, but can't figure out how to finance med school, right, to go to the next step. And she showed me a picture she had taken. One of the first patients that had came up that day was this lady, she had a open wound on her foot that was very grossly infected, and just feet like just absolutely dirty, man. Like just imagine running out in the dirt barefoot for a couple of days, and how dirty your feet and stuff get, and how torn up they would get just from the train. And so, like, first thing I did was I got a pan, and then I went and grabbed some of our water that we had for drinking. So, like, I knew it was clean.
Right.
Filled it up, and had antiseptic soap, and I just started washing this lady's feet. And our translator took a picture of it. And when we were having this conversation later, I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, it's just kind of bandaging open cuts and wounds. And she's like, and she told me the story. I can't quote it off the top of my head, but she told me the story of Jesus going into the village and washing the woman's feet. And she was like, you did exactly what he did. You're making a difference.
Yeah.
And just that right there, like, just wrecked me. Because I was in this mindset of like, I wasn't making a difference unless I was treating something super critical.
Right. Weren't saving their life or something.
Exactly.
But simply washing.
And then when she showed me that picture of washing this lady's feet, and I'm like, it wasn't anything like I second guessed or anything. It was like, all right, well, like, before we even go to cleaning this or go to debris this and bandaging it, like,
we gotta clean it.
Yeah, we gotta clean everything.
Right. You weren't thinking Jesus washing his disciples' feet.
Yeah, no, man, I was not thinking that at all. And then when she just pulled out that photograph and read that story, like it did something to me.
Yeah. Because even the small things are important.
Yeah, and
she was grateful for.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And so coming back here in the small things you do, even when they're not grateful, that you're serving the Lord in it, because he would do it,
Yeah.
And it's hard to
I think sometimes we can get caught up as Americans in our day-to-day life of just being busy. We're in that American mindset of go, work, have the high-paying salary, have the successful career, have the successful family, provide for your kids so your kids can have a better life than you did, even though you may not have had a bad life. But it's just like that, wanting that American slice of the pie, like wanting something better, wanting more. Yeah. So even already being abundant, still not satisfied with what you have, and still wanting more. Because your neighbor has the big boat, but you don't. Right. So coveting.
Yeah.
Right.
And a way to fight that.
So with that, what I was saying was, I think sometimes we can lose track of how close God really is. It's like, at least for me in my personal spiritual path, like I always believed, but then like I saw things in Afghanistan, and just in the nature of EMS and stuff like that, from kids drowning in pools. And like, for one example I used when I was talking to a guy, I was like, one thing I struggled with very first on was we had this opiate epidemic going on and still going on. And I couldn't grasp the concept of a loving God when I would go to the same patients week after week that were overdosing, give them Narcan. They come back, they're angry because I took away their high. They don't want to go to the hospital. They want me to leave them the heck alone so they can get high again.
Wow.
But then the one kid that just wanted to swim in the ocean, his parents are there on vacation, good family, stable family, not paying attention, just on vacation. Kid drowns. And so I struggled with that for a while. Like, is that really righteous? Because like this guy, that's all he wants to do.
Right.
And then he sees my face every other week. saying welcome back. But an innocent kid drowns.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to accept. And it took a lot of good mentors along my way to kind of get out of that, and then slowly started coming back towards God.
Mm-hmm.
And what I will say is, like, anybody listening to this, if you ever feel like you're alone, or like everything that can go wrong is going wrong, I can't tell you what your God moment will be like, but I promise you there will be one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just turn back and look for him,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be like a father,
Yeah,
just welcoming a lost child back.
yeah, that's good, man. That's good stuff.
And so, like I was saying, that's why for me this trip, it rekindled a lot of things and brought clarity to a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, I told you before you went on there, you know, you're going to grow spiritually, but there's going to be spiritual battles before you get there. There's going to be spiritual battles while you're there.
Yeah,
because the devil's going to try to attack you, because the devil knows, hey, you're going to have these God moments. He's going to grow closer to the Lord. So I'm going to try to get him not to go, or get him to do this and this and this. So,
yeah, man, and those certainly did happen. And man, I'm so grateful. Like, we were able to have that conversation, because you know, at one point it was like, you know, when they told me the price of everything, I was like,
oh yeah,
ugh.
yeah.
I was like, bro, I was like, I
You
don't
just got
have that
thousands of
kind
dollars
of
just
cash
ready
on hand.
Yeah.
I was like, so it was like, you know, I didn't want to waste his time. So I was like, hey man, like I appreciate the opportunity, but maybe next year this will work out. And just kind of really had already wrote it off, and had talked to you. And then, you know, not even 2 weeks later, you called me and were like, hey, a bunch of people from the church donated. They really wanted you to go.
Yeah.
Everything's taken care of. And so like that was even more confirming of like, hey, this is absolutely meant for you to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then just so like looking back at like all the incidences of like the incidents with the eyeglasses, the coloring books, and then the eye drops, and just having my own kind of like self-revelation of like being extremely burned out and just exhausted, from, you know, the different things that come with my career path that I chose. And just to like all of it coming together, and like the empathy being rekindled, and just like seeing people so grateful for the littlest things, really awakened something that had been asleep for a long time.
Yeah, that's great, man. You did mention one thing that I want to touch on a little bit, of the some of the spiritual things, spiritual growth that needs to happen, or spiritual kind of problems they might have in their current context, specifically about polygamy there.
Yeah, dude. So that
different
was
sins, you know, different things we, you know, in different places.
And that's the thing, man, is like, you know, nobody's perfect.
Right.
Like nobody's ever going to be perfect. There was one perfect person.
That's right.
And that person died on the cross for all of us, for you and I. And I don't think we're never going to obtain perfection. Perfection is an illusion, but I think it's the posture of your heart.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do in that. And are you acknowledging the sin, or are you still committing the sin and just kind of like trying to hide it? And it's like, you know, you're not going to hide it. Right. Everything
God knows
that is in the dark will be brought to light.
Right. That's right.
And so, but acknowledging that when you do mess up, but also forgiving yourself, because like Jesus has forgiven you, and through his grace and mercy, like we're sanctified, and made perfect in his image.
That's right.
And so with that, what I would say, like, if anybody's like struggling with anything, is like, you know, reflect on it. Obviously, it's good if you feel guilty about it. That means you're spiritually alive.
Right. You don't want to just be
right. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I did this again.
No big deal.
All right, maybe I'll not try to do it anymore. Right. But I almost like the analogy of a kid riding a bike. Yeah. All right. Nobody rides a bike perfect the first time. You fall off a couple times. You skin your knees up. It's painful. Well, what I've learned about life just in my 35 short years of being here is that there's not growth with some kind of pain. Like if you think of even a plant, right? You prune it so it grows stronger. The pruning hurts.
Yeah.
Just like the kid riding the bike falls off. Skinning your knee hurts.
Right.
But you get back up, you brush yourself off, you try again, and eventually you ride the bike without falling.
Yeah.
Eventually the plant you're growing grows up to be, exactly what you wanted, how you wanted it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, going back to your question, kind of got off on a tangent.
You're good. That was a good tangent.
So, yeah, I mean, do they have their cultural, traditional sins that are still prevalent? So, like you said, you hit the nail right on the head. So, polygamy was a big one. Now, like some of the pastors for the village, like they've kind of been brought up to speed with the covenant of marriage and how it was designed and intended to be. And so they don't practice polygamy anymore.
Right.
So they have one wife and however many children they have, but members of the community are very polygamist, have 4 or 5 different wives, 10, 15 different children. And so as you can imagine, with that type of lifestyle, the HIV rate over there is through the roof.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And this has always been, I heard this question posed years ago when I was in seminary of like, you go to a mission trip to an African country, and if somebody comes to faith in Christ, but they have, 2, 3 wives, what do you tell them to do? Because, we know they should have only one wife, right? But practically, what does that mean for the other 2 women, right? Like how they were depending on him to take care of them, and it's like trying to figure out all the practicals of that. So there's no easy answer for that.
Yeah, man, you went to ministry school. I did not. So if you don't have the answer for that, brother, neither do I.
But I think it goes back to what you're saying. Like everybody has different sins they're struggling with, right?
Yeah.
And so this is one of the things that, because of their history and different culture and whatever, that's something that they're going to have to deal with, and hopefully we can help them deal with it, and they can help us deal with whatever greed, pride, and all these other things.
Yeah, man. And so like there's differences. So like in the United States, you can say like you have more of traditional marriages, whereas there you have polygamous relationships,
right.
But over there, like you have humility, selflessness,
gratitude,
and just gratitude, just being so grateful, even though like comparatively to us, like they have absolutely nothing.
Right.
These kids are in ragtag clothes, holes all in them. Like,
tell them about the when you got there, the gloves, the balloon gloves.
Oh yeah. So typically with like pediatrics, like you got to kind of warm up to them, let them get warmed up to you. That's typical social human behavior. Kids don't usually like to be touched on or encountered by a stranger that it's not a familiar face, right. And so that's normal and that is healthy, right?
Yeah.
And so what I was doing was like just taking latex gloves and just like blowing them up, making little hand balloons, and tying them and giving it. And that was kind of like really the breaking of bread between us. And then like I'd give them that, and then like I'd show them my stethoscope and, put it in their ears, let them listen to their heartbeat. And then like just slowly kind of like, start increasing the distance, so to speak. And the next thing you know, like I'm able to listen to this kid's lung sounds, listen to his heart, make sure he doesn't have a murmur. Listen to bowel sounds, because like another problem we saw a lot over there was intestinal parasites, just from the food and how they cook and stuff. So like there's no forks, spoons, knives anything. So like everybody's community bowl.
Yeah.
You have your individual plate, but everybody reaches in the community bowl with their hands, pulls out the food, put it on their plate, and then eats with
And
their
they're
hands.
not washing their hands before.
Yeah, some of them are starting now to wash their hands.
Yeah.
Some of the villages were not, and that was really one of the basic hygiene things I really tackled. Like, hey, you absolutely should be doing this. It goes back to the water, like, right? Obviously, you boil the water, even though it's stagnant, it's now been sanitized, so you reduce the risk of contracting malaria by drinking the water or other, like waterborne illnesses like dysentery and stuff like that. So yeah, man, like kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, like absolutely beautiful landscape in paradise, but has some very dark secrets to it.
Yeah.
A lot of disease and death.
And you're telling me also about their value, what they value there, they value their livestock.
Yes. So like one of the weirdest things like I caught on to, I didn't see and I asked, I was like, hey, it's like, we've gone to these different places and stuff, and these people are living very nomadic lifestyles. Like, I haven't seen one cemetery. And they're like, you're not going to. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to? They're like, yeah. They're like, everywhere you walk is probably an unmarked grave.
Really?
They just bury them right where they lie.
Interesting.
And so that was like, oh man, like.
So I guess they don't make a big deal of funerals, or they don't have funeral stuff. That's not their. Interesting.
No, I mean, like they are that solidified in faith. Like, hey, like you're a believer in Jesus. Yeah. Like, what is there to grieve? Okay. Like you're going to paradise.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so yeah, like there was that weird familial dynamic of they look at cattle as a greater resource than their children, even though like. We explained to them like, hey, like your children are your futures. Like your children are the ones that if you can provide for them to get a higher education, can bring your entire family out of poverty.
Yeah.
But that's something, imagine like you've been doing something for 100 years and now somebody shows up and like, hey, you're doing it all wrong. You need to do this instead. It's like, well, okay, like we'll consider it first.
Yeah, because I guess kids are a long-term investment, whereas cattle are like immediate investment.
Yeah, so cattle, they look at it as like, all right, so like that is their sense of wealth and income. So very much of like if they needed to, they could go sell a cow off or butcher it up and provide for their family and then sell the excess to the local market.
But your children are just taking all the money.
But they look at children as like, this is an additional cost.
Right.
Like when they're older, they will be able to help out in the fields with growing crops and herding cattle themselves. But as far as babies and stuff like that, man, like if they get sick and stuff, it's not like, oh man, like in America, like if our kid's sick, we're like immediately to the pediatrician's office, like what's wrong with my kid? They're just like, it's God's will, he'll heal.
Yeah. Wow. And they don't have like a good understanding of like made in the image of God. They're worthy of value and worthy of respect. And even if they don't contribute, kind of that kind of thing. What do they do with they might not have many elderly people.
So they actually do.
Okay.
So we saw a lot of, some of the village elders were probably like in their 60s and 70s.
Okay.
But obviously look much older due to living in the conditions that they're in and stuff.
Are they respected among the community? Because I do feel like tribally, I feel like elders are respected, but at the same time, they don't contribute to the community as much because they can't. But what do they? You might not have a pulse on that.
Yeah, so they're well respected.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, like this is your grandfather. He paved the way for you to be here. So you're going to treat him with respect and listen to him and whatnot. So there is that. But when it comes to like the women itself,
not as much respect.
So like a lot of the women were going out daily. Like first trip to one of the villages, saw a lady walking on the side of the road and she had this piece of loincloth and she had it tied around her forehead. and had it tied up in 2 double loops in the back, and she was just walking just firewood she was picking up in the brush. And so like the women are doing all the cooking, cooking every single meal, taking care of the children. Like, dude, they don't have strollers, they're carrying kids on their back,
Right.
and using the shukas to kind of harness them in like
A carrier.
yeah, like a little swab and whatnot. And there's a lot of domestic abuse. And so, and then with that comes that polygamous lifestyle.
Right, those go together usually.
Yeah.
Abusive. Yeah.
And so they really look at women,
property,
and then for procreation.
Yeah. Oh, I guess what's next step for you? Another mission trip, or what are you thinking in the future? Or yeah, what do you think? That's loaded. That's a big question.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
It's fine to say, I don't know yet.
No, I do know. I don't know all the details, but I do know God has a plan. I do think it was definitely my calling to be in the medical field for sure.
Yeah.
I've obviously became very successful at it, and whatnot. But I also, like, when I was there, and like we talked about earlier with dealing with burnout from just EMS in the United States, and going over there and doing very basic stuff like that, and just having that empathy refilled. I talked about eventually trying to financially figure out how to pave the way to med school, and it seemed like there was a lot of clarity brought. So, obviously, if the opportunity arose to go back, I would absolutely go back in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
All right. Well, we'll be praying for that. See, maybe it can come up. God can do anything, right?
Yeah, man. God
can open the door.
Yeah,
as He has with so many different things.
When you least expect it, He's going to surprise you.
That's right. What would you say to somebody maybe considering going on a mission trip? Obviously, you would say it's a good thing to do, or what do you think?
So like I was talking about, like God moments, I think we're all unique in His image. So everybody has their own uniqueness and their own things they are good at. And God knows that.
Right.
And so I think in a way, just a personal belief of mine, I think you have your own unique connection to God, and it's up to you to kind of figure out what that is. And so what I would say is, like, if like you hear that in that little voice that's not yours, that aligns with Jesus's teaching of love, humility, forgiveness, compassion, and it's not on a level of personal advancement, listen to it.
It's good.
Because you may not hear an audible voice, you may just hear a faint whisper.
Yeah.
And that whisper could mean the difference, such as buying eye drops.
Right, that's right. It's good, man.
So what I would say, like, if you feel called, absolutely go.
Yeah.
Because you may not, and everybody's experience is unique. I can't promise you'll have the same experience I have, but I promise you this, you will have an experience of your own.
Yeah.
And something that will live with you the rest of your days.
Yeah. And there's something about getting out of your comfort zone, doing something different, doing something where God can use that in a powerful way. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess it's living by faith, really.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like, dude, if you had told me 3 years ago I was going to be going to Kenya on a medical mission trip, I would have laughed you out the door. Like, dude, there ain't no way this is happening.
No way.
Like, my life is way too busy to even take part in that.
Yeah.
And
all the practical things of taking off work, raising the money, doing all this
taking
stuff.
off work, raising the the whole financial aspect of it, the familial aspect of it, of like, all right, like, I'm going to be going away from my daughter for several days.
It's sacrifices,
and to just to kind of like come back on everything and just to see how it all unfolded. Like, the time taking off was not an issue. All my leave got approved. It wasn't like a last minute, like, hey, there's too many people off this shift, you can't take off, you need to figure out another way.
Right.
Like, there was no complications to making it happen.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And that's just God's hand in
That's
it.
right.
And like all those other complications, like, we were freaking out, like, where are the eyeglasses at? And stuff like that. Or then forgetting the coloring books. And then like, they say hindsight's always 20/20. And then seeing it all, I was like, all that happened for a reason.
Right.
And so I'll say is whatever situation anyone might be going through, you may not understand the reasoning of why you're going through it, but you may in the future.
Yeah.
And so don't snuff it out.
Yeah. Huge. Yeah.
And so what I would say is like, even if somebody feels called, but they physically can't go, find somebody that can go. And I think there's an acknowledgement in that.
Yeah. Because there was no way you could have gone by yourself, but the support of the church and the support of people and family and friends.
Yeah, man.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, bro, I'm so grateful and humbled just to even have this experience.
Yeah, man. Well, I commend you on going and stepping out in faith and trusting the Lord. And so, last question. Did we talk about this yet?
No, we didn't talk about the sword.
This is the sword.
This is the sword of truth. So I thought it was pretty cool. I was able to get one and whatnot, but it does have some more symbolic meaning. So it is significant of a young warrior and responsibility as a protector.
Nice. And homemade?
Yeah, handmade. Yeah. So give that sheath a whiff, and it smells like
some leather.
Freshly? Huh? No, it don't smell like leather. It smells like fresh animal.
Smells good now. It's been in your suitcase.
Maybe. When I first got it, it had quite the mustiness to it.
Goodness.
So I was like,
Americanized.
Yeah.
Well, cool deal, man. Well, any last minute comments or anything? Anything that we didn't hit?
Yeah, I would like to just read a scripture to anybody that's been kind of thinking about going and kind of like on the fence of whether they should go or not.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to take a break because I don't have my Bible.
No, I get you one.
Give me one real quick and I can find it.
Before you read your scripture, I had these other final questions, fun questions. Favorite Kenyan food?
Ooh. The goat.
The goat, okay.
The goat, man. Like, dude, the best grilled goat I have ever tasted in my entire life. Yeah.
I don't think I've had goat cheese. I don't think I've had goat meat.
Yeah, man. It tastes, in my personal opinion, it tastes a lot better than the steak.
Okay.
Wow. I don't know what they seasoned it with. I probably don't want to know what they seasoned it with, but dude, it was good. And they had this other, it's like a kale or like their version of turnip green. They call it sumawiki.
Okay.
And just like, yeah. And so it's just like a turnip green that they cook, and it was really good. And like, man, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just the climate, stuff in the dirt that's over there. But like the fruits there just taste completely different to the fruits here. Like bananas were so much sweeter and richer and flavor.
We get here like fake bananas.
And like mangoes over there, just like walking around and just like mango trees and just pick one off and like just take a bite. Like it's just like mango juice just goes out everywhere. And dude, it's so sweet. It tastes so much different than the mangoes we get here in the United States.
Wow.
And so like, man, to be completely honest with you, I have no complaints on the food at all.
Great. Okay, great. Exactly. I know that could be a big deal for people for food stuff going to different countries, because I went to China, rice and soy milk every meal. Ugh.
Yeah.
By day 3, I was done.
Yeah. So no, man, I have no complaints on the foods. Maybe conditions to eat in were not ideal.
Yeah.
But they were good. They kept me fed.
All right, and I think I know what you're going to tell for this story, but funniest moment.
Ooh.
Funniest moment.
All right, so funniest moment was one of the first villages. No, I'm sorry, this was the third one we went into. All these kids are out and everything, and of course, like, and this was like one of the craziest things to like just concept of like, for some of these kids, like we're the first white people like they have ever seen. And so like it is like they are obsessed with you. Special. Like they want to touch all over you, like feel your skin. Like,
are you real?
Like I felt like I had pretty calloused hands, like for a guy here, like with like
working,
just working
yeah.
and whatnot. And some kid grabs my hand. He's like, "Your hands are so soft." And I look at his hands and they're all calloused up, like he's been working in a machine shop for the last 30 years. He's like 8 years old.
We're weak, man. We're weak.
They're just on a whole different level, brother.
Yeah, that is funny.
But funniest moment, we were out with these kids. And Nick actually got it recorded, so when you interview him, you'll have to see the video. But I was this little girl wanted to race me in a foot race, and so I was like, "All right, guys, I'm gonna give you a head start."
Yeah.
And she took off, and then I took off behind her, and we're running side by side, and she's in front of me, and there's a briar patch coming up, and so I go to get beside her so I can run past her, and dude, right at the last second she cuts right in front of me, and I didn't want to trample over to her, dude, and the next step I took, I just hit a rock, and dude, my whole feet went out from underneath of me, man, and I just slid across the ground for 30 yards.
Oh my goodness.
Or what seemed like 30 yards. Was that but dude, skinned my arm all up, my leg all up. And then they were all looking at me because I was just bleeding everywhere. And I was like, "Oh no, I'm the first casualty, on the third day."
Running a race. Running
a foot race.
Wow.
They're fast.
Yeah, I bet so. I bet. Would she have beat you?
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. I hit the ground and I got up and then I started running again and I just felt my arm and leg start stinging. I was like, "Yeah, you win. You can have this foot race."
Done. Wow.
So this kind of really spoke to me as far as confirming my purpose on that trip, and it was just really like a in a weird way God saying "Hey, you did exactly what I wanted you to do."
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of just stumbling across this as a future blessing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't set out on this journey to do this for self gain. Some self gain 100% came out of it,
right?
But that wasn't the intention. The intention was to go over there and just to help and experience it, and to have kind of a positive experience being out of the country when previous experiences were not so positive. And so it's Matthew 19, verse 28. Jesus said to them, "Truly I tell you, in the renewal of all things, when the Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or fields because of my name will receive 100 times more and will inherit eternal life." And so if you're watching this podcast and you're on the fence of whether you're going, give that scripture a deep dive. So if you feel the call to go, better answer the call.
That's good, man. That's good. Let me pray for us.
Yeah, man.
Close us out. That's great. God, we're so thankful for this opportunity just to hear how you're working and see the God moments and hear the call to go and to help and serve in whatever talents we have and support missions as best we can. And just so thankful for Bryan and his faith and just continue to grow him and that this would be beneficial to those listening. Pray this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Sweet, man. Boom.